Thousands of citizens in Iran continue to rally against the country's regime, displaying some of the largest demonstrations in years. President Trump taking to his platform Truth Social, posting, quote, "Iran is looking at freedom perhaps like never before. The USA stands ready to help." Since those protests started, more than 500 protesters have been killed, more than 10,000 detained. And now Iran is warning President Trump that a U.S. attack would lead to Tehran striking back, marking Israel and regional U.S. military bases as legitimate targets. The president saying this just moments ago.
Are you concerned? Well, if they do that, we'll consider things targets that they wouldn't believe. If they do that, we will hit them at levels that they've never been hit before, and they won't even believe it. I have options that are so strong. So, I mean, if they did that, it'll be met with a very, very powerful force.
Let's bring in Congressman Greg Stanton on this, member of the Committee on Foreign Affairs. Congressman, appreciate you coming on and your perspective tonight. In your opinion, should the U.S. step in, and what would that look like in Iran?
Well, we should not take that off the table. Look, we are all inspired, whether you're Republican or Democrat, independent, we are incredibly inspired by what we're seeing by the people of Iran rising up and demanding their freedom, ending of this regime that has been a totalitarian regime, demanding a democratic state. We are totally inspired by that. We need to make sure that any American action doesn't result in a rallying of the community against the United States, and therefore stop the momentum that we're seeing on the streets of Tehran and around the country. So I think we should not take action off the table completely, but we need to be very cautious about using it because it could have the opposite effect of what the president might intend.
I'd also like to discuss Mexico, because President Trump making some recent comments about cartels, saying strikes will be coming in Mexico soon against the cartels. You actually wrote a letter along with 72 of your House colleagues urging Secretary of State Rubio against any military action in Mexico. Tell me why you believe strikes should be off the table when it comes to cartels, Congressman.
Mexico is the United States ally and our friend, and we have numerous security partnerships with them already. Obviously, we have the major trade relationship. They are our #1 trading partner on the entire planet. For Arizona, my community, they've always been the #1 trading partner. But right now, they're the United States #1 trading partner. If we were to unilaterally bomb or have troops on the ground inside of Mexico without working with the Mexican government in partnership in a battle against the cartels, that would do significant harm to that relationship. It would hurt our economy. It would hurt job creation. And so 72 of my colleagues and I said, absolutely, President, do not enter or bomb or take military action against Mexico unilaterally. Work with the Mexican government on a unified plan to fight the cartels. We have a shared interest in fighting these drug cartels.
With the time we have, I want to pivot once more and talk about the pressing topic of Venezuela. The president actually posting on Truth Social tonight, I think we can bring this up, this mocked-up bio showing himself as acting president of Venezuela. What is your reaction to this?
Well, look, he said today that he's not going to let, I guess, Exxon participate in any activities there because they said something that he found insulting. Look, he's not being serious about this. There's no legal authority for the United States to, quote, run another country. The Trump team has no legal authority to do this. The only thing we can do now that we have gotten Maduro inside the United States, he's going to face justice here, is to help ensure that a fair and free election happen as soon as possible. There was an election not that long ago. Maduro lost that election. He is not the legitimate president of that country. But we should have a transition to a democratically elected government as soon as possible. The United States has no business, quote, running another country.
Congressman Greg Stanton, appreciate the perspective tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.